Mhm.
Ethan, I really appreciate you joining me today, mate, after what I know has been an absolutely chaotic, hectic week. But just to get everything moving into this interview or testimonial, whatever we want to call it, do you mind just sharing a little bit about who you are, what you do, and then maybe a little bit about how your life looked prior to joining the coaching program and joining Built to Thrive?
Yeah, sure, absolutely. So my name's Ethan. I live in the Central Florida area in the United States. I work as a healthcare administrator. Before joining the program, I was still pretty active. I was um, working out, lifting weights maybe about 3 times a week. I was running probably about 3 to 4 times a week, including on those lifting days. I just finished running my first marathon, pretty slow pace, but in general, I was in pretty good shape, and I ate pretty well too. I wasn't meal prepping to the extent that I've done in this program, but I was being pretty conscious about the food that I ate. One of the things that I definitely didn't have though was real structure to what I was doing, and I think the biggest thing, part of the reason why I reached out for a coach is like, dang, I was like, I feel like I'm really in shape. I'm working out a lot, but I don't look the way that I felt like I should look given how hard I was working, or at least so I felt.
Yeah, I respect that, man. I respect what you that you said that. I remember
Mm,
one of the very first conversations we had, you said something similar. And
yeah,
I'm actually going to ask you, what was your one of your biggest like frustrations or struggles with your current position there? But I feel like you've kind of just
mm,
answered it where it was like I were doing all of this work, what I thought was the best work that I could be doing as well. And I just didn't feel like I were getting the results that I should have been getting for all the hard work and dedication that been putting into it. So what was that moment, do you think, Ethan, where you thought, you know what, I've been training to the best of my ability, eating pretty well for a long time here now, just
mm.
finished this marathon. What was the time that made you, or what was that moment that made you realize, you know what, I'm gonna make a change here and commit to this.
I think it was after running the marathon, I was like, all right, now what? And I kind of went back into the gym and refocused on lifting. And I think I realized how weak I was in the gym. And I think that was probably a real turning point because I was like, I feel like I should be stronger than this. I feel like I should be further along with consideration to how long I've been lifting and stuff. So like, I really want to look into some type of coaching program where I could actually see myself grow incrementally, not like a goal to get to a certain spot by a certain time necessarily, but just kind of get on a plan where I was kind of moving forward. So I definitely think after running the marathon was kind of like a turning point because I'm like, I want to work towards something and lifting, getting stronger, looking a little bit better. It felt like something that I hadn't ever really gotten serious about in terms of organizing and planning.
Yeah, and do you feel like that overall, uh, almost like approach to your training, nutrition, and the way that you go about things now has been the biggest difference compared to what it was before? Like we when you were doing marathon prep, obviously heavily focused around marathon, and you'd lost a lot of strength,
Mhm.
self-admitted there. But now taking this system-led approach with push pull run, simple dieting system inside Built to Thrive, it's almost like allowed you to be this hybrid athlete where you are, strong, you are fast, you are fit, and in best shape of your life as well. So, how do you feel like that approach is kind of like, or how different is that compared to what you were doing in the past? Or maybe a better question would be, now reflecting, looking back, what do you feel
Mhm.
like you're potentially doing wrong, or in comparison to what we do here?
Right. I think that like looking back at it now, I think I was thinking about when it came to physique. So I guess I have to kind of break it down. When it came to the way that I looked, I think I was thinking about this caloric deficit and macros um in a way that really put too much emphasis on burning calories, being in the gym, working out really hard, sweating when you're in the gym, and probably not enough emphasis on the type of food that I was eating and the amount of food that I was eating. So that was a significant shift there with how I was viewing food, which now is much more of a viewpoint of like the food as the fuel to exercise, looking at exercise as or the strength training is actually the mechanism that's going to build the physique, build the muscle, not really the mechanism that's going to helped me get lean. So that was a big shift. I think the other piece was really just the organization of the type of exercises that I'm doing, how frequently I'm doing them, and when I'm doing them. So, like, I think before, I was I probably would do splits based on muscle groups. I would it was probably not all that consistent in terms of how long I would do that type of workout before I would get sick of it and then maybe switch to something else. Um, Versus now, it's a lot more full body um, time spent in the gym, which actually helps me maximize my limited time already. And then, like I said, again, it's just a lot more orderly in the way that I'm doing things, which I've been able to see results consistently doing it that way versus how I was doing it in the past.
Awesome. No, I love that. And Ethan didn't say at the
Mhm.
start of this call, but I'm going to say it now. He's incredibly busy with his line of work and his family
Okay.
life and things like that. And he's recently just been on a trip across the
Okay.
state, and he's a director of the facility that he works at. So prior, when he was doing a body part split, if he needed to miss a session, he was missing an entire muscle group for that day. So that isn't a system that works for him from a physique development standpoint or a strength standpoint. So when we look at Ethan and what he does, and to be fair, 99% of all clients inside Built to Thrive are using a full body split because it's efficient. It helps us train our muscle groups more than once per week. And the outcomes of that, well, strength goes through the roof and you get in fantastic shape as well, which I'll put Ethan's photos here of
Mm.
what he looks right now. And I'm pretty sure as well there's only a couple of pounds between the before and after there as well. Is that right?
Yeah, yeah. I think that's probably one of the coolest things about like where I am now versus where I was when I started. It wasn't even about weight loss, really. My weight is probably like a pound difference
Mm.
between the two pictures, but look totally different now.
That's it, right? You built loads of
Yeah.
muscle, lost fat as well, and you look completely different. How were you?
Mhm.
How do you feel like this has potentially impacted your life outside of the gym, mate, like work
Mhm.
and family and things like that?
I think for one of the biggest things for me is like my kids. Really, like my wife she's in her own plan. She has something else that she's doing. But for really both of us, our kids to see us in a regimented plan. They see me meal prepping. They see me coming back from the gym really early. So when I do my lifting workouts, they're early. I go to the gym at 5. So I'm coming back right before school. For them I think it sets a really good example of how, one, taking time for yourself, but then also, lifting and eating and those kind of things, how they can be integrated in your life and a part of your everyday life. And not only how they can, but how they should be. So that's been cool. Our kids know that about us now, and they probably see that in a different way before because of the structure and how regular it all is now for me. I think the other side of it, too, my physique has changed enough, which I didn't really notice even in my clothing, because people that I work with come and then they ask and they're like, "Oh yeah, I can tell. Oh, you've been lifting," especially folks that I haven't seen maybe in a couple months. So it's a good conversation starter, and it also kind of puts me. It feels good to be an opportunity to kind of maybe help somebody else, that may be struggling to get back on track or whatever. Then we kind of talk about what we're doing. So it's been good. A confidence booster good for my kids and my family to see. And honestly, again, back to work, it's like you're so stressed, and everything I do is really in service to someone else. I'm here to serve my family, my wife, my staff. I'm running around doing these things, and I feel like this is one of the things this year that has been for me. So that's also been nice.
That's epic, man. I love to hear
Yeah,
that. Such valuable points there that you've raised. You know, set an example for everybody in your life. You know, not just your wife, not just your kids, but the staff that you work with. Everybody. You know, you're able to set that example and lead from the front because you've got the body right. And if somebody has a great physique, they walk with presence. They demand respect when they're in rooms. You know, and
yeah,
although people won't say that to you, they'll give you that respect because you've got that body. And then because you've got the body, you've got the confidence, you've got the mindset that all comes with it. So that's how you can live a life as a elite high performer, by looking after your body, looking after your nutrition, building a body, building an athletic physique that's strong and capable. And then you demand that respect when you walk into every room. And I think um, people won't say that, but people will honor that respect for you
yeah.
just because of the way that you do operate. And you know, the fact that you do get up at 4 a.m. sometimes. And it's really funny. I had a conversation with Ethan on his check in last week about, do you know the sleep that you get in? Is this a time thing or is it a I just can't sleep thing? He's like, Josh, it's a time thing. And I
Yeah,
am
it's
getting up to get my workout in so I can get home and be a family man and then get to work. And I'm like, you know, massive respect, bro. Like big respect. And yeah, you make time for the things that are a priority in your life. And when you've got work, your health, family, sometimes sleep just has to come down the pecking order a little bit, which is absolutely
yeah.
fine.
And
Now,
you know, I was just gonna say, I mean, and I do
mm,
recognize there's some accountability. There's always accountability to be had because as much as, me and my wife, like I said, I think I said in that message, like we try to have like an hour to ourselves or whatever, but also it can be that hour. Like I don't have to, because it is one thing to say you're having time with each other, and then the next thing you know, you've watched like three Netflix shows and it's 12 o'clock. So still got to be accountable to that for sure.
absolutely, mate. It depends what Netflix show you've got on, right? Sons
Yeah,
of Anarchy or something like that. You can just go for hours.
yeah,
Last question from me, mate. I want to, like I say, I want to be really respectful of your time. What would you say to another guy, mate, in Florida who's in a similar position to yourself? He's a founder, a CEO, he's a director, or whatever it might be, and
yeah.
he's just feeling a little bit lost, a bit tired, a bit sluggish. You know, he wants to demand respect when he walks into a room. What would you say to that guy? You know, about joining Built to Thrive if he's on the fence.
Yeah, I mean, of course, the first thing I would say is just do it. But if I got into details about it, it would be, if you're a leader at your job, then chances are, kind of like I said earlier, you're in a situation where you're constantly serving other people, you're constantly doing for other people. And as time goes on, it's not going to do anything but get more difficult to kind of reel your habits in, whether it's nutrition, whether it's getting back in shape, it gets harder. Not just like physically in your body, but like the time, the way your schedule is, the way certain things are set up. So I'd say if someone is on the fence, they should go ahead and just do it, because in a kind of roundabout way, all of the other things will kind of fall into order once you start investing in yourself a little bit. And I think that if you're a leader, you probably invest in yourself in other ways. You probably play golf, maybe. You probably go out and have drinks. You probably, spend a little bit of money, I don't know, whatever your thing is. But I think the difference between this and maybe some of all those things, this is something that's lasting. This is something that's possibly generational, if you have children. So I would say it's definitely worth going ahead and making that investment in yourself as soon as you can. I wouldn't do it as something like wait around and do it, because you'd be able to see the benefits more quicker too. So for sure.
Awesome. Thank you, Ethan. Thank you, brother. I really
Yeah,
appreciate that. And on that note,
yeah.
we'll end the interview here. But